Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Pint-Sized Preview. A bit of a slow news day today, so we're going to do well to find topics to talk about. But we have got some guests to spend the next hour or so with, so let's waste no time in bringing them in, and then we'll run through today's talking points because there's a few of them. Evening to you, first of all, Jaden.
Good evening, mate. How are you?
I'm not so bad, mate. I've just about recovered from all the insults and abuse in my comments over the course of the day, some of which deserved, some of which not so much. How about your end?
Yeah, it's been quite an interesting day. I feel like I've had one eye on my work and then one eye on my phone at all times. Really, it's been mental. Really, it's sort of come out of nowhere and like it took me by surprise when I woke up to the news this morning and just followed the developments. Because to be honest, when you see one article, you don't think it's true, and then it kept snowballing, really, didn't it? And it just became this massive thing, and I was just like, I just don't know what to think. Honestly, it's crazy, but yeah, I'm sure we're going to discuss plenty of that tonight.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm almost. What was I going to say? I didn't get much work done today, but I'm almost glad I missed it last night because it made for a lot of reading this morning and maybe some mistimed tweets that people caught on to. But never mind. Let's bring Chris in as well. Good evening to you, Chris.
One normal day. That's all I ask. One normal day.
It won't
Today was not it.
It will never happen. How's it going at your end?
We can live in hope. It's been all right, mate, to be honest. I've just been following the stick you've been getting and trying to find a tin hat to buy you off Amazon. I think you're probably going to need it over the next few weeks. But yeah, that's been all right. You all right?
Just about recovered. I've got a lovely fruity cider with me tonight, so we're drowning our sorrows in one of those. Just before we bring in public enemy number one, there's 111 people.
Tom
watching. No, it's not Tom. Probably the one bloke who's hated more than
Howson.
Tom.
Howson.
If I've had a bad day, there's one bloke who's had a worse day than me. Evening to you, James.
Evening all. Hope you're doing okay. How are we all?
Not so bad. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm fine. I'm okay. It's been one of those days. I think it's been one of those days where as a reporter, you're not going to forget it in the long run. You're really, really not. It's been one thing after another, development after development. Because let's be real, this is massive. It's absolutely huge from both sides, from both the perspective and from the Reading perspective. It's a big deal, and there'll be plenty of talking points to discuss. That's for sure.
I mean, with my, channel and where I stand, I'm a paying fan like the rest of us. But you do this as a job, as a living, you're a professional news writer. How does some of the stick you've got today affect you? Because we can sort of brush it off, me and Jaden and some of the other guys. We laugh it off. But when you're doing it as your job and it's what you do professionally, it must be tough.
Yeah, I mean, we're all human at the end of the day, but as a journalist, you go into it knowing that you're going to be writing articles which are going to have some backlash. And that just comes with the territory, really. It's part of the job. Doesn't matter what you put out there. Someone is going to have a problem with anything that you do. With something like this, obviously, emotions are going to run high because it's, like I said earlier, it's a really, really big deal. Some of the comments, justifiable. They're expressing their opinion. Some of them were just insults, so you just have to deal with them. Some of them questioning my integrity and my sources, which I always find difficult with that, because as a journalist, I'm not going to publish something that isn't true. You've got to verify the information that you've got, and you don't just go through one person. Sometimes you have to go maybe 3 or 4, 5 people. You have to really go through a fine-tooth comb. So that one tweet, which very much did the rounds earlier about with the exclusive I got, I went through that article at least 20 times before it was published. I properly went through it. I even contacted the people who I know who helped me to make sure that everything I got was correct. And of course, the backlash that came with it, it's just part of the parcel. I do think it is important to express very early doors in this episode of the Piteside podcast that we have got no problem with Reading as a club. And to be fair, what's going on has got nothing to do with the four of us. We're not part of any negotiations. We're not part of any board meeting. You three are fans. I'm a reporter. I've got to do my job and just tell people what I've been told through trusted sources. And unfortunately, people always tend to shoot the messenger. That's just the reality of the job. So to answer your question, I'm absolutely fine because it's water off a duck's back, you know. But I feel more for the Reading fans who feel affected by this, but then at the same time, and I'm not trying to sound as if I'm celebrating, you look at it from the other perspective, and it's a good thing for Wycombe that they're on the verge of getting this massive complex, which a few months ago seemed like a pipe dream. So it depends on what perspective you look at. That's the best I can say. I think.
215 people currently watching live, but we must reiterate that whilst we've got no problems with the people of Reading, the clubs itself, we hope the issues are sorted. This is a Wycombe podcast, so we will mainly focus on the positives that this move brings for us as a football club. I'll come to you first, Jade, and give you the baptism of fire. This is really the biggest thing that's happened for this football club in the last, well, probably forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's a crazy sum of money to think, you know, where Wycombe have come from over the last few years. To think we'll be getting a 50 million quid training facility is just outrageous, you know. And like you said, it's literally just a pipe dream not too long ago, and now here we are with this whole situation unfolding. It's mental, but it's really, really bittersweet. I don't feel excited about it at all because of the way it's happened. It's just, you know, it's one of them things that you think, oh, that's good. It's good for the long term and the future, but you've got to think of the club Reading that you're also affecting now as well. And that's the thing that just doesn't sit right with me at the minute, because I thought that statement that they put out at lunchtime just gave us nothing really, did it, in terms of like maybe what would happen to Reading. I thought maybe, okay, we might, you know, lease out the training grounds or something, or at least let them use it, like, because they're in financial ruin, aren't they? Like they need something, otherwise they're going to go bust. It's a real shame. But, you know, from a Wycombe fan's point of view, obviously, while I don't feel any sort of excitement towards it because of the way it's happened, I can't stress enough how massive it is for the club and the potential to, you know, like get the academy back with all these pitches and things, and potentially just transform the club, take it to the next level. That the ambitions are as a established championship club.
Mm-hmm. Whilst we can sit here, Chris, looking at the positives and looking forward to the future, on the other end of it, you've got the Reading FC fans who'll be watching this tonight. They'll be sat out all day today thinking that in 3, 4, 5 weeks' time, there'll be nothing left, because this was essentially the last asset that the club owned.
Yeah. Do you know what I'd really like is I'd really like somebody to tell me how to feel about this and also what to think, because I'd like somebody who knows all of the facts, because we clearly don't, and also understands all of the facts as well, because none of us really are experts within the field. And then when somebody told me, like, be angry or be happy or whatever, you can then really start to make sense of it all. I mean, we're Wycombe fans, and so from a Wycombe perspective, honestly, it's great, but we're also football fans, and we understand, you know, the impact that a football club can have, you know, on a community, and on the people who are part of that community as well. And they are lifebloods of the towns and the cities across the country. And no club and no community should be going through what Reading fans are going through at the moment. There's been lots of conflicting stories today, like particular as well. You know, on the one hand, James, I know you've reported and we've seen the side that actually by doing this, effectively it saves Reading because it allows them to pay bills that otherwise they would not be able to pay. And then on the other hand, I've heard stories that there have been potential buyers into the club who now won't be pursuing that because, you know, the training ground is, you know, their big golden egg and it's not going to be there now. So with both of those, it's really hard to know what to think. And as much as it is a fantastic facility, and from a financial perspective, makes completely perfect sense. We've been looking to buy a new training ground or expanding it for some time. And even if we were to buy the site that we're looking at, or even if we were to redevelop Marlow Road, it's not going to get anywhere near the quality of what Reading have. And also, it's going to take so long for that. So from that side, it makes sense. But at the end of the day, this is a facility in Reading that should be there to benefit the Reading community, not really to benefit ourselves, is my feeling on it. And it does make me feel really, really uneasy about it.
I mean, with everything that's happened today, obviously, I think it's important to reiterate as well that the deal hasn't gone through yet. It's still very much in an advanced stage, and more or likely it is going to happen. I don't know the ins and outs of what is going to happen once the deal is concluded, but just from a personal aspect, and this is just my opinion on the matter, I genuinely can't imagine, right, when Wycombe purchase the training ground, they're just going to turf everyone at Reading out, then Wycombe go into it. I just can't imagine that would be the case. From a logistical point of view, it probably be a case of Reading will probably use it until the end of the season and Wycombe take it over in the summer. That's the only sort of viewpoint I can think, because it doesn't make sense to uproot so close to the end of the season when there are other legalities to look at. So it's been a very unique day, I think, is the best way to describe it, depending on who you ask, because as we said, we're all here related to Wycombe. You guys are fans, I report on it. It, on the face of it, without any of the background noise, or on the face of it, it's a good thing for Wycombe that they're getting this training ground. It is. Let's just be 100% real here. It's a good thing they're getting this training ground. But you look at it from the other perspective, with everything around it, and think it's Reading's really only viable asset at the moment. It's been sold for half the price. It's important to mention as well that Wycombe were approached by Reading. It wasn't as if Wycombe were obviously we know Wycombe were looking for a new training ground, but it wasn't as if Wycombe were knocking on Reading's doors, like demanding this training ground, because the facilities for it are way beyond where Wycombe are at the moment. I know Wycombe's aim is to get back into the Championship and push on, but at the moment we're a mid-table League One side. That is fact, because that's where we are. We're 14th in the table. We're not going to go up. We're not going to go down. That's where we are. So for Reading to approach Wycombe and finalize a deal, what are Wycombe supposed to do in that sense? Because if it's not Wycombe, it'll then go to another club. And if it doesn't go to that club, there'll be another club. And if it doesn't go to any club, it'll probably go to developers, and it'll probably get knocked down and turned into houses. Mm-hmm. So whatever happens, like from whatever happens from a Reading point of view, those people are always going to be the bad guys in it. But unfortunately for Wycombe, it's come a couple of years after the whole Derby situation, which is a completely different kettle of fish, and it sort of paints this narrative which Wycombe just aren't. And that's the thing that I personally find frustrating, is that Wycombe are being labelled as this sort of, I don't even want to say it, but they're labelled a certain type of club when we know the club inside out. It's anything but. It's anything but. It's a good deal for Wycombe. Reading are going to benefit financially, getting the 25 million, but that's a rumoured figure. But obviously the fans aren't too happy about it because, as I said, it's worth 50 million. If the anger needs to be directed at Dai Young, who has caused all of this. Wycombe just happened to be a passerby getting caught in the crossfire.
You see, James, rightly or wrongly, we are going to be viewed by a lot of fans now from Reading, as we were with Derby, as being complicit in the downfall and the demise of their club at the moment. Now, we can argue against that and the views, but it is going to be the view that many people will have, and it is a really uneasy position to be in. We may not be the people who fire the gun or pull the trigger towards Reading, but we will be viewed as being an accomplice in that and being in the room in the same way in which Derby was viewed. I don't know enough about all of the matters as well. And, from a business perspective, as I said earlier, and from a club perspective, it's fantastic news because it gives us the kind of facility that we could only ever dream about. but for it to be potentially at the expense of another club who have a group of fans who love their club as much as we love ours, makes me feel really, really uneasy about the whole matter.
Just bring in another guest very quickly. He's waiting in the wings. I see him smiling back there. Aaron, good evening to you as well.
All right, gents.
Evening, Aaron.
Taking the pint-sized preview name a little bit literally because you've already had a few.
I have, yeah, but to be fair, I was listening on the way home and can't argue with much that was said. Like, for Wickham, it makes sense, and if it's not us, it'll be someone else, and if it's not them, it'll be knocked down. I've just in the comments, someone said it can't be, but I'm sure there's somewhere it'll be developed on, or the land's worth whatever it is, and if it's not us, it'll be someone. So to say kind of, I've seen online like we're the enemy and stuff. We're not. It's not like we're trying to do things to them as a club. We're just buying an asset that's beneficial to us and kind of is what it is. But I also get the other argument that it's not a great look. Let's be honest. Like however much we sugarcoat it, they're in the shit and we're not really helping with current situation. But yeah, if not us, someone else. And unfortunately, that's kind of the sad thing about it. It's going to happen regardless.
And of course, it leads on to the protest that's going to take place tomorrow, which is going to be very interesting because it's going to be a peaceful protest. We already know that. Several people are going to make their way over from Reading to Wickham to have their say. And I actually think this is actually a very good opportunity for Wickham fans to actually go over and actually just talk, because that's how you get answers, isn't it? That's how you realize what's going on. And I know we've seen all the hostilities on social media today. Some of it has just been implorable from both sides. Let's be real. Like some of the stuff that we've had directed at us has been very unjustifiable. Some we've had people from Wickham. I'm not saying from Wickham, but people related to Wickham say some stuff, and it's just been a really messy day on socials. So tomorrow, when the protest does happen, I think it could actually be a good thing. It could actually cushion the blow for both teams and actually just get things sorted. In the grand scheme of things, Dai Young isn't even going to know about this protest taking place tomorrow because he doesn't care. And he's in China and he'll probably be in bed due to time difference by the time it happens. So he's not going to know. But for us, I think it's a good thing to talk because let's be real, there is a ownership problem in the EFL. We've already discussed it on numerous occasions. The likes of your Berries, your Macclesfields going out of business. Then you look at the likes of Scunthorpe and Yeovil, who in the Championship about 10 years ago. Now they're in the non-league. We've seen it. And even other clubs like Derby recently, you got Blackburn under all their issues as well with Venky. So there is an ongoing problem. So tomorrow, whoever does go from the Wickham end, it will be a good opportunity just to talk, because let's be real, this is going to be a developing story and more will eventually come out of it by the end of the month.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's common sense to a degree that this is a deal done between four businessmen who are not football people. No matter how you try and spin it, you've got the two blokes from Reading together with an American lawyer and a Georgian tech billionaire who do not give a shit about football. So there's nothing that we as fans can do that is going to change this outcome. The training ground is already, as far as we're aware, it's going to be sold. Whether it's to Wickham or not will be finalised in the next few days. But I guess, Jaden, the worry from a Wickham point of view is that we've been labelled all the words under the sun before with the Derby situation. We've sort of mentioned already tonight that it's not a good look. I mean, it does look like we're preying on the vulnerable.
Yeah, I totally get what people mean that it's not a good look, and it's not really, is it? Because at the end of the day, people are going to come back and look at this situation and think that Wickham are obviously responsible for the demise of Reading if it does happen, which obviously got everything crossed that it doesn't. Yeah, it's just such a strange situation. Like on my 2024 Wickham bingo card, I definitely did not have this listed. So yeah. I'm not really like I've made my point clear in a tweet that I put out earlier, and it's sort of like the way I see it is just like if someone offered you a £50 million mansion for half the price, you're not really going to say no, are you? If you've got the money, and it's just I know obviously they're in the shit. But like for Wickham, it makes sense. We've already discussed. I like with the protests and that. I think what James said is pretty much spot on. Really, it'd be a good chance for fans to talk. Whether I agree with it being at our stadium or at theirs is another thing. You know, do it where you want. It doesn't affect me because I wouldn't be attending either way. But yeah, it's just after the Derby situation, you know, it just feels like it feels like deja vu almost, but this time it's 10 times more. You know, we've got to actually take some sort of accountability here because Derby, nothing really came of that, did it? But if this is actually going to happen, if we're actually going to buy the training ground and strip Reading of their final tangible asset, really, that would be, well, and it's really going to kill interest in any potential buyers as well for Reading. So maybe the short-term cash that we're giving them isn't the best option for them. But yeah, it's just there's just something about it. Bless you.
Yes.
There's just something about it that seems so off, and I'm pretty sure you lot will all agree with me here, and everyone watching will agree with me. It just doesn't seem real at the minute. Like you never really hear of anything like this happening, do you? And obviously with Reading, they've been through the shit for God knows how long now. And I got a couple of close mates who are Reading fans, and I really, really sympathise with not just them, but every single Reading fan on the planet tonight. You know, because it could be our club one day, and it almost was 10 years ago. But yeah, it's so sad, and the EFL just need to get a grip, honestly, and stop letting incompetent businessmen take over football clubs, because it's the fans who suffer, the people who care, the people who pay good money to watch the club week in, week out. They're the ones who suffer, not these owners, because they can just fuck off, buy another business, can't they? Like they don't care. It's just short-term change. It's their play toy, basically. It's ridiculous, and the longer this goes on, and the more clubs that go under, you'd think they'd finally start to realise. But now you're losing a massive. Well, if Reading go bust, it's a massive club. You know, they're a well-established Championship club, been in the Premier League for a number of years, plenty of history, one of the oldest clubs in England, and they're just letting it go like that. There's no intervention from the EFL whatsoever, and it shouldn't have got in this position where Wickham were able to buy the training ground, really. And that's my honest thoughts on it. And to be honest, if I woke up tomorrow and the deal fell through, I can't give a shit, because at least Reading still got their training ground. But like people said, I think if it's not us, it'd be someone else.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because on the face of it, like we said earlier, Wickham are benefiting fantastically well with this new complex, but then it's at the detriment of Reading, who have to sell. You know what I mean? And ultimately, and again, can't reiterate this enough, we have got no issue or beef with anyone related to Reading. And similar to you, Jay, and I've got a few mates who are Reading fans. I was talking to one today. He was on the verge of tears over the phone, on the verge of tears, and he's a grown man, because all he knows is going to watch Reading home and away. But obviously, I think, again, it's not really Wickham's fault. I know that's going to sound controversial, but as we've already said, if you're offered something that's so good at half the price, you'd be silly not to take it. And ultimately, this is going to benefit Reading in the short term with the 20 to 25 million pounds. It's going to benefit Wickham for the long term in terms of getting better facilities. And we all know that Marlow Road it needs to be. I know it had renovations recently, but if Wickham want to progress, they need to move away from that. And I think it's important to remember as well that Marlow Road isn't owned by Wickham; it's rented. So obviously, everything with a rental has a lease. There's a tenancy. So it like we said, we're not part of the negotiations. We're not part of anything to do with that. We can only report on what we know, and I can only tell you guys and to everyone else there watching what I know. And ultimately, it's just not proved to be very, very popular. But again, I think this is just very much misdirected anger. It is, because we've not done anything. The club have been offered that. The club didn't go to Reading and ask. Reading went to Wickham. So what are Wickham supposed to do? Say no? That's what's happened. So I think the anger is very much misdirected towards us and to the fans. And as the group statement said, this earlier on today, Sell Before We Die, that they don't have any issue with anyone any Wickham supporter, because they know there's nothing to do with us, which is why I think it's actually a good thing that hopefully many Wycombe fans can actually head over to Adams Park tomorrow. Obviously Adams Park, the gates are going to be shut. No one's going to be on the vicinity. It'll probably be outside on Hillbottom Road where people are going to congregate. But just talk to the Reading fans. Just talk. You know, how on earth are we supposed to know how other people are feeling if we don't bloody talk? That's the thing here. It's almost as if getting across with insult is the way forward. No, just talk. That's all it is. And I think we can go a long way from doing that. But yeah, it's been a very unique day. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but this won't go away for a while, I think. But yeah, good thing for Wycombe, bad thing for Reading. But as some of you guys said, there is a bad taste in the mouth. But it just sort of came out of nowhere. That's the shocking thing for it. It just came out of nowhere. So we just have to wait and see what the next couple of weeks have in store for us.
I guess, Aaron, the bottom line is this is a businessman, Rob Cooley, protecting his investment. You know, we can speculate about just how much he bought the club for, was it 6 or 7 years ago? He's now going to, when he comes to sell it, he's going to sell it for 10 times as much as he's bought it for. Although it's a really quite shit situation. From a business point of view, which is what it is, it's very, very clever from his point of view.
Yeah, 100%. Like, whatever the club was worth, the club's now got an extra 50 million quid attached to it, basically. And as a businessman, you can't argue with that. I mean, we can say all the kind of sentimental feelings, but at the end of the day, he's a bloke who's bought a club in Wycombe that he's never heard of before kind of getting involved. It's now worth tenfold what he's bought it for. It makes sense for him. It makes sense to Wycombe. It won't be a popular opinion, but a Premier League quality training ground for half the price, why would you say no? If I offered you a Ferrari and said pay the price for Peugeot, you're not going to go, oh no, sorry, it's not fair. Like, it's just shit as it sounds, but I get it. Mm-hmm. That said, like, looking at the comments and people saying, like, would Wycombe fans want to see you pull out the deal? To be honest, no, because if we don't, who's going to buy it? Someone else is going to buy it anyway. Quite possibly, if we don't pay what they're asking, someone will buy it for less. Like, it's a shit situation, but it's not a Wycombe situation. It's not. We've not made it. We've just, all right, we're kind of benefiting from it. Is maybe the slightly bad look, but we've not made it. And like James said, they came to us and offered it us. Your kind of anger and your issues have got to lie with Reading as a club and the owners and how they've run it. Obviously, no one wants to see them go under. No one wants to see a club like that go out of business, and Wycombe wouldn't. I don't think anyone at Wycombe, fans or kind of owners or player, whoever, would want to kind of be associated with the death of a club, effectively, as people have said earlier. But if it does happen, and I hope it doesn't, it's not going to be on Wycombe. It's going to be on one person and one person only, and that's as simple as it is, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. I guess, Jaden, once again, Wycombe podcast will focus on the positives for Wycombe. This puts us in really good stead for the next 20, 30, 40 years. To have a training ground of that stature, you feel like this is the first step of the club realising that vision that they've got over the next few years.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, since the academy closed in 2012, we haven't really had much, success with bringing players through the ranks, obviously, other than Anis Mehmeti, since they reintroduced the B team. But even the B team's gone a little bit quiet these recent years, hasn't it? So to potentially bring back a full-on academy in the Wycombe area, it would be absolutely sensational for the club because, we've had talents like, Matty Cash was in the Wycombe Academy, Jordan Ibe, Courtney House, people like that. Just, it's such a big catchment area as well for young players. And I think, obviously, not just, young players, but I've seen a lot of the interviews from Reading players when they signed for the club in the summer, just saying how good the facilities were. And it's a massive selling point as well to bring, potentially the higher quality first teamers into the club. But it's just it just doesn't feel real. Like, it's crazy, like how Wycombe have ended up with this massive facility that's just unbelievable Premier League standard without a shadow of a doubt. And like, I know we've had all that talk, it was years and years ago now, about all the potential of Wycombe building a 25,000 seater stadium with a massive training complex near it. But it's kind of like half, that dream's half come true in a way, because now we've got the training complex. But I'm honestly, it's going to take a while to settle in for me, because I do really see the whole Reading side of it, and trying to remain, as neutral as possible. I know we're a Wickham podcast, but nobody ever wants to see a club go bust, and it's going to take a while for me to realise the full-on benefits for Wickham. But right now, my immediate thoughts are with Reading, and hopefully how they get out of this and sort of survive, I suppose.
I mean, when a club struggles, unfortunately, the first thing that you look at are the most valuable assets. And I know this is a bit of a jump, but years ago when Leeds were on the verge of going bust, when they got relegated from the Premier League back in 2004, they had a fire sale. They literally had to sell pretty much every single player in that squad. And that was a Leeds team 3 years prior, were in the Champions League semi-final. So unfortunately, it just happens. No club wants to be that club that pinches that team's best players when they're struggling. And Reading and Wickham, I guess, don't want to be the team that take Reading's most valuable asset away. But what are you supposed to do? Like Jamie, what are you supposed to do? And you can only feel for the Reading fans. You can, because it's their club, 150 years been in existence. Goodness knows what's going to happen to them, but £25 million in the bank is better than nothing at the moment. That's one way you've got to look at it, because if it doesn't get sold, what's going to happen next?
I mean, you're right, James, and this is the bit where it'd be great to have some transparency, and obviously I know we're not going to get it because they're business deals and there's a lot going to be done in private, what we're not going to be aware of, but just to know that this is to a benefit of a club, or had it not gone through, as some of the stories have suggested, would it have then meant that another buyer would have been more likely to purchase for a club? Look, I can't lie, it leaves a really bad taste in the mouth. I know we've reiterated comments, but from a business perspective, it is excellent news and it makes sense from that. But really, for it to be, to the detriment of a club and to the community of Reading and to the surrounding areas, just leaves a really, really bad taste in the mouth. As football fans, I get we're all tribal. We have our rose-tinted glasses on, and no matter what, we will defend our clubs to the hill, whatever. But in this situation, to look at it and to see what is happening to another team, to only begin to imagine we don't need to begin to imagine, because we've been through this as well, to know how it feels for them actually makes me feel incredibly uneasy. Yes, I know it makes sense from all of that side, but it doesn't take away the fact that in doing this deal, there are many people who believe that the club are going to be in a far poorer situation than where they could be if they had the ground and were able to sell it, or sell the club with the ground being part of what they own.
I echo what you lot have said, and I'll ask Aaron about this, that it's going to take a long time to realise just how big an impact this is going to have, both on our club and Reading's club. But ultimately, this is down to one man and one man only. And the entire football community, Wickham fans included, support Reading wholeheartedly in their bid to get the cancer that is dying out of their club. But ultimately, it's down to him, and that's who their battle is with.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I think most Reading fans know that, and I think a lot of the stuff you've seen on kind of Twitter and stuff has been reactionary, like, "Oh, we're kind of buying, and it's us, and that's where your frustration is today, and the kind of the anger is." But anyone with a bit of sense knows that actually the main problem is him. It's always going to be him as long as he's involved in the club, and hopefully that will change soon. Whether, like Chris said, whether us taking over the training ground, whether does that make it a less kind of attractive buy for someone? Quite possibly. But if it's not, I keep saying it, but if it's not us, it's someone. Like, the chances are they're selling that club without the training ground, whoever it is. And yeah, I get it from both bits. It's a really weird one. I don't think, like you said, we won't know we won't kind of see the full effects of it for a while. Maybe Reading will sooner because they're in that situation, and who knows what's going to happen in 3 months' time, kind of thing. Even if the worst happens, I think the club kind of gets in further financial difficulty, Are we ever going to know if it's Wycombe's fault? Probably not, because at the end of the day, it, like you said, George, it lies with one man and one man only, and whatever happens with the training ground is, maybe you can say we're a small part of that, but 95% of it is the bloke who's kind of fucked it up, basically, from the last how many years, and unfortunately it's got to this stage. Like I've said, it never should get to this stage. It's happened with clubs before. We've mentioned Macclesfield and other clubs, and we've just seen, was it Torquay or someone docked 10 points for... It's a mess, and football needs to, or the football governing bodies need to kind of step in and do something. What quite the answer is, I don't know, to stop it happening again, because whatever we try seems to, the whole fit and proper test bollocks, like, well, that's gone well, hasn't it? Because it's just club after club. So, but yeah, something needs to be done, and whatever comes of this and whatever comes of Red in the situation, we said before with Derby and other clubs, lessons to be learned, but hopefully there really is this time, and it's kind of the last club that goes in that direction, and something changes.
I don't want to sort of dwell on it for too long, because we could be here all night literally talking about this, and I'm sure it will crop up week after week as we do these live shows. So I guess we can only echo what the Reading fans and what Sell Before We Die are saying, that football's got an ownership problem. Yeah, right from the top to the very bottom. As Wycombe fans, and as the main fan channel connected with Wycombe, myself and all the other guys fully support Reading fans in their bid to get rid of Dai Yong. It pains me that support for you has been questioned over the course of today by all of us. But we absolutely hope that there's still a Reading FC up the road next season and beyond. So I guess let's move on then, because like I say, it will pop up every week for the next sort of 3 or 4 months, and even then it will sort of be a big talking point for years to come. Let's talk about the Wembley game coming up then, Chris. I'll come to you first.
The
fundraiser for La Media Inglesa, I hope I've pronounced that properly, met with a little bit of backlash, but again, lots of positivity for that as well. I guess, as you, the main bloke behind it all, can you understand sort of both sides of that argument?
Yeah, completely. I guess probably the best place to start is actually talk through like a little bit of a timeline of like what's happened over the last month or so. Because although it was only just announced at the beginning of this week, there have been conversations that have gone on for some time, and it's probably hopefully will make a bit more sense to people. So, in around the time that we beat Bradford and we qualified, started speaking to the club at that point to try and get a sense of what we could do in terms of a fan display, and that was as far as it went as well. You may remember that a couple of weeks ago we pushed another crowdfunder in terms of trying to promote flags and banners and whatnot, both at Adams Park, which we still want to do and we'll stay at the stadium, but also something at Wembley as well. And it was a couple of days after that the club got in contact with us, where they presented the problem they faced with La Media Inglesa. So I know lots of people will have seen the press release that went out, but in a nutshell, this was what they said to us. The trip, La Media Inglesa, which is a Spanish fans YouTube channel, had been booked back in September, and it gave football fans across Spain the opportunity to come along to a match in the way that they have done a couple of times before. So just in exactly the same way that I know lots of us will, and lots of people watching this will go and watch games in the other country and book their trips, very much in the same way for that too. And the game was the match which was scheduled to be Derby on the Saturday, and the trip was completely paid for. And then, of course, with no fault of their own, because of us qualifying for the final, it then meant that all of their flights and all of their travel, which they'd paid for as well, which had been centred around that Derby match, had suddenly all been changed around. And bear in mind that these are guys just like us who would have paid for their trips, their holiday, what have you. and all of that just came with an extra bill as well. So what the club had said is that the extra bill, which has been paid for, a £7 extra, £7,000 extra bill, and they were looking to try and find ways to help cover some of that cost as well. And that would we be comfortable in the fundraiser that we were doing, either merging them together to try and promote them even further, and that was in effect the question that we had. So they approached Dan and I, and then we put it to the guys, like in our 1887 Twitter chat group, just to kind of get a sense of what everybody was thinking. And of all those who responded, it was unanimous, and everybody who did respond said, actually, yes, it's something we want to be part of and we wanted to help as well. And in fact, there were two suggestions. It was either right, we could still do our own separate campaign as we were as well, or actually was this something we wanted to help with? And the general thought of it was actually we did want to help. We felt that it was the right thing to do. We did understand like the backlash, and it was some of the questions that I did bring up myself as well. I did think, well, actually, how is it going to come across to people and how are they going to feel as well? But essentially, we felt it was the right thing to do. We've got this group of fans who, over the course of the last couple of seasons have been a really big part of some of the match days that we've had as well. And that in this situation, it's given people the opportunity, whether or not they want to help or not. And my view is very much of, those people who do want to help, who are able to help, fantastic, brilliant. And actually for those people, when I get their concerns, if it's not something they feel comfortable or think is the right thing to help with, then again, fair enough. So that's my thoughts. Over to all of you, because I do get there's a bit of a backlash. What do you all think?
Guys, I'm going to actually have to shoot. I'm going to actually have to. I actually have to. I'm sorry, Chris. But what I plan on doing is when we get close to the final, and we'll be able to put this in the BFP, I do plan to speak to the guys over in Spain, and hopefully we could do a big piece on them, because it is great to see so many Spanish fans flying out for a final like that. And considering, as you said, it was supposed to be for the Derby game, fair play to them. So yeah, we'll be able to do our bit, but I'm going to have to dash, guys. But it's been good as ever, and yeah, thank you for having me on again, George.
Thank you very much, James.
Hello.
Cheers.
Bye, James.
Bye, guys.
Right, I'm kind of going to play devil's advocate with you, Chris.
Yeah.
I guess present the opposing argument. I can understand that the club are very keen to have La Media Inglesa there, and absolutely rightly so, by the way. A great bunch of people who actually are, I would call them big fans of our club nowadays.
Yeah.
My concern is the club have just spent £22 million ish on a training complex. Is there not £7,000 in the budget that can be covered by the club and the players, the staff, rather than call on working class people who have already got to pay a quite significant amount of money to get to Wembley? It's not a cheap day out. Why again is it the fans' responsibility?
It isn't. It's a choice. At the end of the day, we all have a choice whether or not we want to help with. The club have been working, I'm sure, to try and help as well. And, what none of us, including me, will be aware of is, what lengths the club have also gone on, what they're going to continue to do to help as well. And the fundraiser is exactly that. It's an opportunity for people to have a choice whether or not they want to make the choice whether or not they want to help. And I see it really very much just as a case of ask the question, are you able to help? I completely get there are lots of people who won't be able to financially, and there are other people who will take a view similar to which, and again, totally get it as well. But it's that option, actually, are we able to help in some way? And I think from a mark of solidarity, and from that case as well, and trying to help, fellow football fans, the option to come over, I think it does help as well.
Mm-hmm. I just want to make it clear again that I'm not questioning the idea to have them come over.
No, I get it.
I think they add an awful lot to the atmosphere and the day as a whole.
Yeah.
They were great at the Portsmouth game last time at Wembley, the Sheffield Wednesday game a few years back. Absolutely, they add so much to the atmosphere. I guess the other concern I've got is how was it affected your other fundraisers for flags and etc.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, the fundraising campaign that we had anyway, and it's probably something we're going to have to look at. Had started to dry up anyway. We weren't quite getting as many of the donations we had, and there'll be lots of different reasons for that. And I think part of it will be down. Will suddenly change when we're able to show some of the designs that we have and we want to show as well. But to be honest, I don't think from that side it's necessarily made much of an impact yet. Even aside from that, I think it's the right thing to do. For me personally, I felt it was the right thing to do. It wasn't a decision that I took by myself or took lightly, because actually our group and the effectiveness of the group only comes from people being able to share their opinions and their thoughts as well. And if there's anybody else who's listening and watching actually who wants to get involved, please get in contact with me as well, direct message or whatever, because actually it's more successful when we do get the opposing opinions as well, and we get we challenge one another, and that's why I feel it's the most effective. But as I say, as a collective group, the people who did speak felt that it was the right decision to make, and it was the right thing to do. And I think the evidence from that has been the money that has been raised so far. And I think that's where it's been important. And whether or not you feel that the club can do more, what have you, or not, it's been nice to see that there's been a lot of people who have got behind it and who have made a difference. And at the end of the day, we've got a group of football fans here, in the same way that we're football fans, we're considering Wycombe fans now, who actually were going to be severely out of pocket for no fault of their own. And if in some way we can help them a little bit, then I just see that as a positive.
Mm-hmm. I guess that sort of not the final question, but another thing to touch on then. You say that the £7,000 bill has been paid. And I
believe so, yeah.
And I understand it's an awful lot of money for them to find amongst themselves. So is the money that the Wycombe fans are raising, is that then going to be dispersed out amongst the La Media Inglesa community to cover the extra costs, or does it go towards something else? I guess the question.
No. It will be going to La Media Inglesa. It will be to cover the cost of a bill that they've incurred as well. What I'm trying to be really careful to make sure that I use the right words and I get the right words out, because obviously that you can imagine there's certain parts that have gone through the club and not necessarily through me. So I don't want to say anything which actually turns out to be incorrect. I know this isn't about getting them over. Okay, it isn't that whatsoever. They have paid for their trip. It's about actually supporting them with an extra cost that they weren't expecting as well. And as I say, I know I keep reiterating it. It's a choice, and I totally get those people who actually don't agree with it and don't think it's right, and actually don't want support. Fully get that as well. But I know there's also people who who actually are in the position to, and actually are able to help and do want to help. And I think from that side, it's been nice that we as a football community, as a fan base, have been able to help them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if Jaden or Aaron have got any pending questions, I guess, for either side of the argument.
No, to be honest, yeah, I get both sides of the argument. I think it's a really good thing what you're doing, and well done to everyone who arranged it, honestly, because and when I went to the Pompey game away last year, they were fantastic there. It was such a good time, honestly. One of my favourite away days ever, and it'd be lovely to have them all with us. And yeah, like you said, Chris, it's a choice. No one's forced to do it, and you've seen from the money that's already been raised that plenty of people are feeling generous enough to help out, and that's a really good thing. Obviously, I do understand that obviously Wembley's an expensive day out, and maybe the club could do a little bit more to help. You never know, like people will feel that, but yeah, it's up to people whether they want to donate or not. and plenty of people have done. So
Yeah.
it's, you know, I totally agree with what you're saying, that people shouldn't feel like it's a choice, isn't it? Like it's nobody's forced.
No, and to be the perspective I also take is, it would be easy to think it's a bill that somebody else could pay or the club could pay, or actually, why should we take it as well? But I do think in life, if we take that perspective with everything, then actually we don't actually ever make any change. It might not be a big thing for us, and a couple of pounds or whatever, people that, for some people that will be a big deal. Some people it won't be as well. But actually, we're making a difference, and we're trying to help a group of fans, and actually making them feel a bit more part of the Wycombe community, and hopefully it will make a difference. And I think you can only do sometimes what you think is the right thing to do, and it felt like the right thing when we were approached about it. Irrespective of anything else, I think it felt like the right thing. It still feels like the right thing to do. I do completely get the other side, because again, many of those thoughts were things that I thought of as well. But as I said, it's a choice. Those people who actually disagree with it, look, fair enough. But those people who actually, are able to help, please keep helping, because it has made a difference. It continues to make a difference as well. And then, it'd be great to get into a position where we're able to then use some of the money that's been created to make something or to produce something at Wembley that would be really, really good. And I think with that, and just with everything, some things are only ever successful if people work together and collaborate. And so I'd say anyone who's watching this, if you're able to help and you haven't done so yet, please help. If it's in terms of you want to be part of the 887 community and share your thoughts and your ideas to them, please get in contact as well. But again, if there's any designs or any thoughts or things you want to do, again, get in contact as well, because it does make a difference. It's the only way I think things can get better and can continue to improve.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to add as well with La Media Inglesa. Obviously, they've got a massive social media presence, haven't they? They've got something like 400 subscribers on YouTube. It brings publicity to the club in an area that may not have been, so broad before. Obviously they come from Spain. Obviously they have lots and lots of Spanish viewers, and it sort of spreads the word of Wycombe out there a little bit, doesn't it, as well? And maybe piques the interest. And obviously with our worldwide Wycombe phenomenon, or whatever they call it nowadays, they are obviously, the owners and that are interested in that sort of expansion and seeing more Wycombe fans abroad. And I say, yeah, good, get them over. Let's expand the word of our club, really.
Mm-hmm. It really does prove what a tight-knit community we've got, that a club of our size is able to put together these fundraising initiatives and actually make them work. And especially whilst the Bucks and the Barks Wanderers phenomenon isn't quite kicking off, it's good that we've these connections over Europe. And especially at a time where there's some bad publicity about Wycombe, rightly or wrongly, that we sort of, we talk about the good stuff that everyone's doing. And absolutely, Chris, we salute what the 1887 are doing. This wasn't me having a go. This was me sort of asking questions on behalf of the opposing argument.
I think, we spoke a little bit today and yesterday, and actually I think it's really important to get that opposing view across, and to be able for people to voice their opinions and for you to be able to do that as well. So no, completely. And actually I was hoping you would, and I was hoping people would, because it's actually then only like James mentioned with when we're talking about Reading, things can actually become a little bit better understood, and you can see both points of the argument, and it's the only way we actually can work through things. So yeah, I'm going to have to head off anyway, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to leave. But for those of you who are there Saturday, I'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Right. And then there were three. Right. We're going to move on to the last two game days. And I'm excited about this because I don't want to hold any punches with this. We're going to talk about the last two wins. And in rather untimely fashion, we're going to start off with the win at Reading on Saturday, Jaden. Let's be positive about this, because it was a really good day out, a really good win. And it sort of does show what this squad is capable of.
Yeah, it's a massive win, and it sort of really sums up that I think relegation isn't really a possibility anymore. Going into that game, it was a must-win game, really. I feel like, and we really showed the depth, how good the depth of the squad is now. With obviously Nigel coming in, scoring that overhead kick, and then dropping another blinder performance on Tuesday night. But we'll get onto that. And yeah, it's a massive confidence boost, especially against Reading, who are sort of in and around where we are. Obviously, I'm going to ignore everything that's gone on today, just focus purely on the game. But yeah, the scenes at the end did make me envy not being there. I was down on the south coast having a wonderful night instead of celebrating the penalty with
Tell us
with
about your
Bearwood
wonderful
Labala.
night, Jaden.
Explain my wonderful night. There was a lot of drinking and some TV programs and Monopoly and the Grand Prix. It wasn't. I don't think 860 people want to hear about my terrific night on Saturday, but I'm sure if you DM me on Twitter, I'll give you some information. No. Anyway, focusing on the game rather than my wonderful night on Saturday. From what I watched back, it looked like a pretty standard Wycombe performance, dominating first half and then come out second half and sort of take a bit of a battering. But at the end of the day, we got the penalty. Good work from Chem. It was a bit of a reckless tackle from Clinton Moller, wasn't it? Really, it was. I'm not too sure what he was doing, and I feel if I was a Reading fan, I would feel very frustrated at him for hacking out Chem in the box. But it's a win with a penalty late on against a team who, I know we're not really rivals, are we? But sort of local rivals and down and around where we are. It's a massive 3 points as well. It's just it's really good for confidence, and obviously, like I've said, penalties. We've been awarded 11 this season. They haven't particularly been our strong point, have they, as of late? But to see Berrily, who looks brimming with confidence as well, by the way, he looks some player, Bearwood Labala. To see him smash that penalty home, celebrate with the fans, it's superb, just to see a January signing have that much impact already. The fans love him. He gives his all for the badge. It's just what you want in a player, and I'm delighted to have him at Wycombe. I really am. But yeah, it's really, really. I feel like that was the result that we needed to get to kick on now, if you know what I mean. And obviously, it led on to the victory against Wigan, and hopefully one against Northampton on Saturday. We'll see. But yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge 3 points, and I think that was the real turning point in what could have been a bottom half scrap to a maybe top half challenge.
Mm-hmm. Again, we'll be positive about the game now, and it felt really, really good on Saturday to sort of spoil the Reading party, didn't it? A big crowd that got behind their team from the get-go. But I think Wycombe started so well that we really squashed the atmosphere very, very quickly. And it was, we've mentioned it before, it was a classic Wycombe away day performance where Reading have been fairly good at home this season. But Wycombe just blew them out of the park first 10 minutes, and then it really sort of set the tone.
Yeah, it's been the case for us a few times lately that kind of first half we go and, second half we're a different team at the moment. I quite know why, but without going too much into that, do you know what though? You got to give credit. Like, what do we have? 1,700 fans. Like, we're saying they had a big attendance and they did, and fair play in League One, but you'll get the people like the Derby fans go, it's not fucking 6,000 people and stuff. Yeah, all right, great, whatever. Like, we took 1,600. It's only down the road, whatever, however you want to spin it. The support was great. The Wycombe fans were great. The Reading fans were great. It was a good day out. And, yeah, to kind of go to a big game for us in this league, I guess, with a kind of a local, whatever you want to call it, a rival, a local team and a big crowd and a big stadium and all that factored in. To go there and win like we did, it's a great result. The first 10, 15, 20, we were brilliant, and then kind of dipped off a little bit, like we've seen a lot. And second half, I don't think we were great, if I'm honest. Like, I think we kind of rode our luck at points, but yeah, you can't argue with how we've started games recently, and hopefully we can now just kind of kick on a bit and make that a 90-minute team rather than a first half team performance.
I realised, Jed, and I asked you how your day was at Reading without realising you were there. But I guess it does put it in to perspective, today's news, you know, we were there on Saturday, quite a few of us, talking to Reading fans who were really very upbeat about the game itself. And they sort of said, you know, this is a good opportunity for the players to really build something. And then not even a week later, you get today's news. And it does really show how cutthroat and how sort of evil the football industry can be, that you can get brought back down to earth with a thud that quickly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for you guys, obviously, who attended the game, it must feel like a different world, really, from Saturday to now. I know it does for me, and I wasn't even there. I was there screaming on my friend's carpet when Bearwood the Butler scored the penalty. But, yeah, it's. I'm so relieved that it didn't all kick off before the Reading game in a way, because I feel like there would have been a hell of a lot of tension at that fixture, and we could have seen some pretty ugly scenes, really, couldn't we? With the understandable frustration of the Reading fans, and obviously, as we've seen today, that would have been directed towards Wickham, not just Dai Young. So it's just crazy. Like, it doesn't, like, I feel like I'm dreaming or something. Like, I woke up and saw it on my phone today, and it's just like, wow. I really didn't believe. I didn't know what to believe, obviously, because it's just one article, but just to think as well, Reading 10 years ago were in the Premier League, fairly comfortable, and now you've got Wickham buying their training ground. Like, what's going on in the world anymore? It's outrageous. And I guess it is a relief for both sets of fans that all this news hadn't broke until today, after the game was done, and we don't have to play each other again this season, because the last thing both sets of fans will want, really, is hostility towards each other. Well, from our end, absolutely not. You know, that's not what we want to see. And it's just, I'm honestly, it's going to take a while to settle with me, because I know it's just, we got a game to focus on in 2 days, and I don't even know what to think about that game anymore, because, you know, I'm just constantly thinking about this whole training ground saga. It's a lot to process, isn't it? And, you know, we always say supporting Wickham's a roller coaster of emotions. This season has been a fucking massive roller coaster, isn't it? Like, we've gone
just a bit.
Bloomfield's first season, we've gone from the highs of beating Fleetwood 4-1, not winning in 20. Now we're off to Wembley. Now we're buying a fucking £22 million facility. Like, what is going on? Just someone pinch me, please. I don't understand what's happening. But yeah, I think once it sinks in a little bit, we'll have to not let it distract us, and sort of just push on for the rest of the season and see what comes of it.
Yeah, we'll discuss, I guess, what the training ground saga could, you know, have the effect on Saturday, because I'm sure it's going to be on the players' minds, you know, at the forefront of them. We'll do our usual of sort of discuss the best moments from Saturday, and very quickly discuss Tuesday. Nigel Longwick's goal, Aaron, just 5 days after it looked like Bez Labala had wrapped up the goal of the season, Longwick pulls that out of the bag.
Yeah, was that his first start? I think first start in the league, anyway.
I think his first professional start for about 6 months, because he had a big.
I think that was second. I think he started against Stevenage.
Actually, yeah, he did. He got subbed off at half time, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what though? And to be fair, counting that in, like that performance, Stevenage subbed at half time, it was pretty poor. And I kind of thought, do you know what, with Lowe and Taff, we might not actually see much of someone who's on paper, from what I heard from Plymouth fans, was a very good signing. What a way to kind of come in and announce yourself. The goal's ridiculous. And then obviously moving on to Tuesday, man of the match performance, and it was solid as anything. Him, Taff, and Lowe as the three centre back options, and we obviously saw Farino back on the bench. Like the four centre back options there, there's just ridiculous at this level. I know why Jaden's smiling there. Ollie,
Evening, Ollie.
Evening, Ollie.
I guess one more thing about the Reading game before we move on to Tuesday. I'm aware we're running a little bit over schedule. Gareth McCleary, against the club he spent so many wonderful years at, had a point to prove, Jaden, after a quite unceremonious.
There he is.
There he is.
Here. I knew he would be.
Is he there? Is he?
So your Saturday, Ollie, mate.
Be on the terrace, Ollie.
Come on, Ollie, get that drum out.
Well, he's only got one arm at the moment, hasn't
Oh yeah, shit. I hope you're recovering well, mate. Honestly, rest up.
Oh dear. Well, will be unceremonious exit from McCleary, Jaden, but a point to prove, and I think he proved it tenfold with a really good hour.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2 points to prove, really, isn't he? Reading and fucking ADT as well. The security company. Yeah, it was. It's good to see Gareth rolling back the years, really, and fair play to the Reading fans as well. They made sure they knew how loved he was, and it's really nice to see him go back to a club where he was obviously very well respected and get a good reception. And I'm just laughing at the chat.
Bobby, where's your arm gone?
We can't go to shit in front of 900 people, lads. We need to hold it together.
Composure, lads.
Composure. Yeah. Like I said, it's really good to see Gareth still being able to hit the level that he can. He's 37 now, isn't he? Getting on 36, 37, something like that.
Yeah, he's got it.
He's getting quicker as well, isn't he?
Just he has got a lot quicker, and it's just, I guess it's a testament really to his pretty impeccable fitness that he just keeps being able to put in solid season after solid season. And for someone who we signed on a free transfer when he was 32, 33, I'd say we more than got our money's worth of him, really, didn't we? Because just probably coming on 200 appearances nearly, and excellent player for us. And I can see him sticking around for many years.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on from Saturday, because I don't want to rub salt into the wounds too much. But I think if Gareth McCleary turns up to Bearwood and it's secured by ADT, he's going to lose his nut. I can't see that going well.
Contract terminated with immediate effect.
Let's discuss Tuesday then. There's not much to discuss. I think we've done most of the talking on Tuesday night. A real game of two halves, Aaron, which, like you mentioned, seems to be the running theme at the minute.
Yeah, don't know why. First half, I thought first half we played some good stuff, to be fair. Second half was, like, honestly, I don't know what happened. It was so shit. Do you know what? Fair play to the keeper, how they didn't score. I think they probably should have done if they could have got a header on target. There was 2 or 3 where it was like, how have you not just at least tested him? Yeah, a little bit worrying maybe that we're still kind of a team of two halves. Yeah, like I said, great first half performance, shit second half performance. Probably a bit lucky if we're honest. Like, it's an own goal in it, and yeah, it wasn't a great game. We got 3 points, but two teams that aren't realistically going down, aren't going up. Like, at this stage of the season, it probably wasn't the end of the world to either team to lose that, really, in reality.
Mm-hmm. I guess we should celebrate the clean sheet, Jaden, and I guess to keep Franco in the team proved to be the right decision in the end, because he had a barnstormer.
Yeah, Franco, he's sort of come in for Striek well, we didn't know what to expect. Obviously, we signed Nathan Shepherd as well, but we haven't seen much of him. It was just, after Barnsley, I was a bit sceptical on Franco. He had the Cheltenham game where he kept a clean sheet, didn't really have to do much. I don't think he got tested once properly, really, did he? But the Barnsley game, I think potentially 2 of the goals on his part were preventable, especially the second Barnsley goal. But look, he's come in, done a stellar job on Saturday against Reading. He kept us in the game and obviously got us the 3 points. And again, Tuesday night, Wickham and keeping clean sheets hasn't really been a thing as of late, has it? And see in the 4 games that he's played, he's got 2. It's a really encouraging sign. And it's not like on Tuesday night he wasn't really tested. He had to make plenty of good saves, and just it's really reassured me to know what a good backup goalkeeper we have. And honestly, I don't see why we wouldn't stick with him for now, because if he's the form player, him, Nigel's in there putting in a very, very good shift at the minute. He's had 2 really strong games at the back, and Franco's distribution as well is something that needs to be talked about, because it's been much better than Max's. I know obviously Max has great shot stopping ability. He's obviously had the moments this season where he's cost us a few points, but it seems that Franco's sort of winning them back with his performances as of late. Because I think if you looked maybe 2-3 months ago, you'd thought, oh, Wigan, Reading, we wouldn't get anything from those games, but to come away with 3 points, it feels like it's definitely more than what I would have expected to get from either of those two teams. So yeah, whether we stick with Franco, I don't know. I think Blooms will, because he likes to pick his strongest 11, doesn't he? He likes to stick with players that are in form, and honestly, it's really good to see Franco sort of flourishing, because he had a few good performances. He was obviously our probably player of the group stage, really, wasn't he? And in the prestigious Bristol Street Motors Trophy. But he's honestly just distribution wise much better keeper than Max, and his shot stopping is there as well. So encouraging signs for Franco. Still only doors, but hopefully we'll see him turn into potentially a number one at some point.
I think we might, to be fair.
It wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. And someone was saying on Tuesday night, I don't quite know if it's true, that Max may be out of contract in summer.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
Yeah. Whether he stays, what kind of plans are, obviously we don't know. But it's a bit like the kind of Stockdale-Allsop situation, when Allsop was the number one, Stockdale came in and kind of stormed it and kept the shirt, and then next season was the number one. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not similar, where if he can keep his place over the next 10 league games and Wembley kind of thing, then he's got a shout as our number one next season with the other goalie out of contract.
The only thing he's got to not do really is drop a stinker, isn't it? Because Max is going to have to...
Wembley?
Oh, God, don't remind me. We've already had one goalkeeper.
It can't get worse than the last mistake at Wembley, can it?
Well, I mean, it probably can, but
Let's not tempt it.
Let's not tempt fate here. But yeah, as long as he doesn't drop a really, really poor game, and
it's his to lose.
Yeah, just it is his to lose. You're exactly right, and I feel like obviously Max has got to win his place back. He had an outstanding performance against Bradford, and we all know what Max is capable of over the last year and a half. Right. But he does tend to have those moments. Obviously, with the red cards, that was poor goalkeeping. Obviously, Tafazoli didn't really cover himself in glory, did he? But he's gone for the man, not the ball. Like, it was a fully deserved red card, and we've seen earlier in the season that Max is prone to the odd mistake, which is a shame. But it's Franco. Like Aaron said, it is Franco's to lose now, and Max be pushing himself to get the number one back. But I think Franco, with how high his confidence is currently, will not be feeling the pressure at all, and just go out there, play his game, and well, honestly, fingers crossed he keeps number one spot, because I think he's a really likable character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's only good for us as well. You got you kind of number one who's been number one for a couple of seasons. He's now basically got to up his game and fight for number one against someone who's performed well over the last few games. It's only good for the club, and hopefully,
there's worse problems to have, isn't there?
Exactly, and we've now basically we know we've got two top quality goalkeepers on the books, and whichever one starts the next couple of games, I've got fairly good faith in.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the nature of the business, isn't it? That Max has done nothing wrong, really. What we say, a red card that is his fault, but his defense have done him no favours.
Yeah,
he's found himself out of the team. The others that he's come in and done very well, but now Max is in a position where he's got to win the position back. Tough on Max, but you've got to.
It's cutthroat nature of football, really, isn't it? That's the game, I suppose. And
I guess it is the position where you want to have competition, because you want them to keep bettering themselves to make that position there. I mean, Arsenal have done it. I think they're a bit more random in who they choose, but I think both keepers have progressed their game in order to make the number one spot there. So it's what we say. There's worse problems to have. Absolutely.
I'd like to say as well, obviously, because we've seen before under Ainsworth that we haven't really had, a pretty well-travelled backup goalkeeper, if you know what I mean, experienced. Obviously, we had, like Prijbeck or someone, and players like that who hadn't really had much EFL experience. Obviously, Franco hasn't had much EFL experience. But it's nice to see that Bloom sort of brought in another goalkeeper, and we didn't sort of end up with a Laurie Schaller on the bench. And to have good competition in that position is essential, really. I think everyone agree with me with that.
Yeah, just before we move on, I remember Franco's first interview. He said he's not coming here to sit on the bench. He's going to fight for number one. And now he's got the chance to do that. I think he's sort of taking it with both hands. And like we say, it's now Max's position to get back and Franco's to lose. Right, let's blitz through Saturday. I've lined up a Northampton podcast right on our fate, so I'm long overdue that. Let's blitz through Saturday. I guess the worry is that today's news is going to be on the minds of the players, Aaron, because it's this isn't a little thing. This is massive for the future of this club, the future of the players as well, because for the ones who live in Wickham and the local areas, this could impact them, because it's not a long journey, but it's not local. This is big, is what I'm trying to say.
It is. Do you know what though? Like, if you've got that kind of quality training facilities, are they going to worry about an extra probably 20 minutes? Not very likely. For what it's worth, I think the summer's going to be a big transition anyway. A lot of our players may not be here next season by the time we've got that facility if it happens. But will it play on the players' minds? Probably not as much as people think. Like, at the end of the day, they're there to play football. They couldn't give a shit what's going on in the background. Bit in the nicest possible way, a bit like us as fans, we're going there on Saturday, we want to win. What's going on, the kind of the political stuff towards it, and the background is here or there for us, and I don't think it should be, and hopefully won't be for the players. There'll be a few that maybe I can imagine McCleary's got a very mixed view on it, like a club that he clearly thinks a lot of and spent a lot of time on, and that's probably not going to sit great with him. But for most of them, especially some of the younger players, they're just there to win a game of football and perform their best. I hope it wouldn't play too much on them. It's not their place to kind of worry about it. As shit as that sounds, they're there to win football, and that's it. Let the rest get on with the rest.
I guess the nice thing, Jaden, is for the first time in 6 months, we've got a game where there's no pressure on the players. We're pretty much as good as safe at this point. We can go out on Saturday. The shackles are off. We could, enjoy our football. The players can sort of express a bit of freedom without that worry of what's going on behind them in the table.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 5 wins from the last 9, haven't we? And things are looking a little bit on the up. Northampton aren't in particularly good form as well, from what I've seen. So it does feel like a game that you'd sort of go into and just expect a Wickham win. Obviously, we can hoist ourselves into the top half of the table, but we're safe. Northampton are safe. It's one of them games that just, either team, like you said, either team can afford this. Yeah, either team can afford to lose it, basically. And I feel like obviously we want to get the result because we want to build momentum heading into Wembley, and that's what we're doing so far to get as many league wins under our belt as possible before we take to the pitch of Wembley would be lovely. So hopefully 3 points on the bag. And like you said, I can't really see the whole Reading situation playing on any of the players' minds really, because the loanies, they're not going to be here next season. Do they really care? Does anyone really care where they'll be training? They're just here to play a game, collect money, and live their life. It's for all they know, they could sign for a club with a better training facilities in the summer. So I don't see it being a massive factor, but hopefully we'll see a bit of a shackles off performance, like you said, and hopefully we'll put together a good first and second half this time, not just first half.
Is that what it's about now, Aaron? It's not just about having one good half. We're building a bit of consistency in the results. But you've got to do it over 90 minutes, especially if you want to pick up results over the course of the season. Heading into next season, that's got to be the primary focus.
Yeah, and heading into that game at Wembley, if we want to win that, we need a solid 90 minutes, not a 45. And I mean, all right, we've Peterborough, the team we maybe know how to beat better than some, but if we play second half how we played on Tuesday, then my God, they'll batter us at this rate. The next few weeks need to be performances, maybe more than results. Like some of them, if you get a draw, but it's a solid 90 minutes, I wouldn't be that gutted about. But yeah, we need to knock this great first half, awful second half stuff on the head. And yeah, I still don't understand what goes on there, because we make subs in the 55th minute, the 70th minute. It's still, the second half seems to be awful, and I can't work out why, to be honest, at the moment.
We're in that sort of stage of the season, Jaden, where players are now playing for contracts next season. And we saw what happened in April last year, where we sort of fell to pieces for the last sort of 6 or 7 games. I'm sure Matt Bloomfield will want to improve on April last year. Do you think that'll be the message, that, the players aren't just playing for now, they're playing for next year and beyond?
Yeah, I think what Bloomfield has said to his players is that this is your chance to cement yourself as a first team starter for years to come, and earn yourself a decent contract. There'll be plenty of players who are out of contract at the end of the season. Obviously, we've spoken about the goalkeeping problem. Well, problem is a bit of a overstatement, really, isn't it? It's not a problem, but yeah, like you said, honestly, I feel like he's gonna give everyone an equal chance. Now we've done the business, really, haven't we? I don't think it'd be very, very unlikely that we go down now. But
47.
Surely not. If you look at it, the average for the last few years is like 42, so it should be right.
Yeah, but surely not on that. I mean, it's never no, but
yeah, better to be safe than sorry and get a few wins under our belt before.
I think if we win a Saturday 50 points, that's surely the magic number that's done.
Yeah, it is definitely. Yeah. There's obviously, we don't know who's out of contracts, but I'd imagine there'll be a fair few, and they'll be keen to prove to Bloomfield that they are for the players for the future, I suppose. I mean, you look at someone like Vokes, Tafazoli, who are aging a little bit. They'll be hopeful of sorting a new contract out and proving with their performance. I think Tafazoli has, but things can be argued for Vokes. And yeah, players like that, I don't think you would see them get a better move than Wickham now, if you know what I mean. So like, it's probably someone on similar sort of terms, maybe even lower down. So they'll be wanting to stake their claim on a place in the team. But yeah, it's obviously going to be, it's hard with the loanees going back as well. You need to give the loanees equal games, and there's some players, like Leahy, Butcher, who are tied down on long-term contracts. But this sort of end of the season is where you really fight for your place, and it's where big decisions will be made, because obviously you can't keep everyone. He's going to want to sign players in the summer. So there's going to be a few that take their chance and hopefully cement themselves as a member of the first team squad for the long-term future. And there's going to be some that don't make the cut. And like we said, football's a cutthroat business, and that's the way it is sometimes. But we'll see who steps up to the plate for sure.
Let's start to wrap up then. We'll start by asking Aaron his weekly question. We've discussed the goalkeeping argument. What else do you expect changes wide from Tuesday's game?
Not many, to be fair. I think Labala, maybe the sub coming off fairly early points towards him starting again. The other kind of players have been recently. Longwick, I think, has done more than enough. Obviously, if we spoke about earlier, to keep his place. Yeah, I don't see many changes at all, if any. Kind of the possible maybe swinging the midfield. We've kind of gone with the three of Potts, Scowen, and Butcher. Maybe one of them might drop out for a bit more an attacking player, but Scowen in that new kind of pushing a little bit further forward with them two has worked well as well. So yeah, I don't think much will change. If it is, it'll be one or two, maybe Dale Taylor back in the kind of behind the striker rather than whatever was going on the other night. He's playing on the wing, which he clearly isn't. But yeah, not much, I don't think.
And that just leaves predictions then, and we'll let Jaden go first.
See, I can't really remember much of Northampton earlier in the season, other than they battered us and probably weren't very unfortunate not to at least get a point, but a bit of a smash and grab job there from Wickham. Their form isn't looking particularly good. I know Sam Hoskins is a massive threat, and he'll be one we've definitely got to look out for. But I'm pretty confident. I'm going to say 2-0 Wickham, a lovely Labala goal, and then Matt Butcher with a screamer from the halfway line, because why not? So yeah, 2-0 Wickham. All done in the first half, and then just sit back in a back 10 and hold it out.
Just before we get Aaron's prediction, can you have a smash and grab if you score in the 5th minute? Is that how it works?
Yeah, we rode our luck, maybe not smash and grab.
And Jaden banking on Wickham to score 2 goals before the opposition get a sniff. I don't think we've seen that for a while, have we?
No. Farino last-minute header, Ollie says.
Oh, mate, I'm on the pitch with Ollie on my shoulders.
I'll be joining you.
Carry him on.
We have to carry him on. Get him to kiss his shoulder better.
Aaron's prediction then.
I've been confident lately, and there's been some, like I said, 3-0 on Tuesday, which maybe was a bit out there. I'm going to go 3-0 again, to be fair. I think we're due at some point, surely before the season, we just batter someone. And until it happens, I'm going to keep predicting it. So 3-0 Wickham.
Mm-hmm. I've just realised, talking about predictions, I didn't get my forfeit in this evening. But I think with today's news, I think Jaden's got one outstanding as well.
He has.
We might have
I'm just thinking of evil things I can do to James Richings.
Oh, he was here tonight as well. You could have gone to
Yeah, I know. I missed the chance in front of all these live viewers as well. I missed the chance to humiliate him.
We had 1,000 viewers watching him drink some kind of shit mixed up in a glass.
I wanted him to do milky beans, put some milk in beans and eat it.
I'm sure the Reading fans who are going out, they would have given him something awful to do.
Oh, they'd have loved that. Us lot just like
humiliating public enemy number 1.
James Richards is eating milk and beans.
Give a goal to Northampton. No.
Well, I think that just about wraps up for tonight. We are currently sat at 1,073 people who've got nothing better to do on a Thursday night, which is absolutely mind-boggling.
Wow.
I thought we'd peaked on deadline day, but we've absolutely smashed out of the park for whatever reason.
Oh, as soon as that came out, I was like, tonight's going to be
absolutely ridiculous.
You know what? I thought we'd get more shit, and fair play to most Reading fans that haven't, that kind of know that it's one man and not a club. But
and we're not here to cause shit, are we? We're just here to look at it.
I honestly know. I expected us to get some pelters tonight.
I was nervous, and whilst we will celebrate what it means for Wickham because it's fantastic news.
Yeah, we know what it means.
Remember, there's a club on the other side of it who it's not so good for.
Exactly that. Do
so
you boys pay your taxes? Fuck off. There we go. End on a high.
End with what you expected.
Let's end by saying that Reading fans, we support your fight against
100%.
The vermin.
Absolutely.
The sooner he's out of football, the better. Not just in this country, but he's caused havoc everywhere he's been. The sooner he fucks off, the better. I'm sure some of us will be down there tomorrow.
I'm going to go down, have a little look.
If there's anything that we can do to help you out, then we will.
Let's go before it goes wrong.
I was going to say, I'm sweating now.
Keep it calm.
I thought Pompey Pedro was the worst Pedro on Twitter. What's happened?
Oh, I remember him. He had some nasty things to say about Wickham, didn't he?
Reading Pedro was taking it up a notch today. Right, thank you very much for everyone who has tuned in tonight. We really appreciate it. Wickham fans, Reading fans, or any football fans in general. Reading fans, good luck with your fight against Die Younger. Let us know what we can do to aid you in any way, shape, or form. We'll be there at your peaceful protest tomorrow with a few beers to hand out, I'm sure. But that's it for this week. We will be back. Is there a Tuesday game next week? I don't think so. I think we've got a week off. So we'll be back next Thursday to hopefully talk about another Wickham win. Less drama next week, hopefully. So, thank you very much. And we will see you all very, very soon.